First of all, I'd like to recognize our premier sponsor for this evening in Cincinnati Open Tennis. Where are you guys at? Hey, there we go. We'll talk about you guys here in a second. I'd also recognize our other two sponsors, Woodley Farah Mannion Portfolio Management. Also, I'd like to recognize our other sponsor, Tennis for Charities. Don't know where you guys are at. Great. Thank you. I'd like to recognize our past presidents from the USTA Midwest section. And let me start with Les Bernardo Jr. Where's Les at? There he is. Doug Winger. Hey. Jonelle Smith. You'll see her in a little bit. Don Harris. There he is. Cincy's own Joy Albee. I think that's like the new intro forever, Joy, is Cincy's own. Paul Farah. Great. I'd also like to recognize another individual here from the city council member, Anna Albee. Thank you, Anna, for coming. I'd like to recognize a number of other individuals and groups who were instrumental in keeping this tournament, Cincinnati, here in this lovely city. And I'm going to run through, and I know I'm probably going to miss some people, but we're going to do a huge applause at the end, so bear with me if I miss somebody. Individuals from the Cincinnati Open, obviously here today. Thank you for allowing the local efforts to come in and help support the event this year to make it a fantastic event. And it was obviously one for the ages, so thank you so much. I'd also like to thank Love Cincy Tennis Campaign. And these are the individuals I talked about earlier today in the presentation about the grassroots marketing campaign or advocacy campaign that helped keep the tournament here in Cincinnati. And I believe we had a couple individuals who weren't able to make it from Ready Cincinnati or Ready Cincy, but I believe we have somebody from Visit Cincy, is that correct? If so, maybe, maybe not, maybe. Well, we thank them anyway. But it was a labor of love to the efforts that were made to win this tournament back and keep it here. Some other individuals, Tennis for Charities. Yeah. You guys played a critical role in the success of the event, not for just so many years, but also for keeping it here, so thank you. I'd also like to recognize somebody who was not able to, they were here earlier, but they're buying a company, so it's kind of a big deal, but John Barrett from Western and Southern was here earlier. And John, if you look at what his support of tennis over the years, he's a true champion of the sport. True champion of the sport. And I know there was a lot of work done behind the scenes to keep this tournament here. So we thank John, even though he wasn't able to make it. But he says thank you. So one last round of applause. I know, like I said, I missed some people, but if you were part of keeping this tournament here, I would ask for you to stand and please accept the applause that we're going to give you. No? Okay. I would ask everybody who wasn't part of it to stand. There we go, Darren. Hey, thanks. Perfect. All right. Cincy tennis is alive and thriving. That is for sure. So at this point in time, I'd like to invite to the stage Midwest Tennis and Education Foundation President and past President of the USA Midwest Section, Joy Albee.
Cincinnati, thanks for being here. We're going to hear some really great stories from our Hall of Fame inductees tonight, but I want to take a minute to turn your attention to a fabulous junior player. She is joining us tonight from the wonderful state of Michigan, She plays in one of our national junior tennis and learning programs called Opportunity Tennis Academy. And she is the winner of the Arthur Ashe Essay Contest. And I'm going to ask her to stand up. Please meet Ayanna Jenkins Kane. And stand up, stay standing up. She is here with her grandmothers, Lynette and Julie, and her dad, Akeem. And I had the most delightful dinner time conversation with all of them. You're just wonderful. Congratulations. And please take a minute in your programs on page 5 to read her essay. It's just really worth reading, and it's a fabulous writing. Now, Ayanna's essay sort of gives us a sense of what tennis can mean to our youth. And that's really what the foundation is all about. Our mission is to connect the joy of tennis to educational opportunities to enhance the lives of our youth and all persons with disability. So how do we do it? We do it with people, with payments, and with programs. So let's talk about people. We have the most amazing board. They're here tonight. We have 15 wonderful individuals. They are, I'm lucky enough to serve as the chair, Paul Farah, Faye Peters, Tim Ross, Neil Harris, Kurt Binder, Jim Hendricks, Dr. Jorge Brioni, Dr. Susan Klumpner, Dr. Don Newport, Jeff Stassen, Don Harris, Lynn Callahan, Todd Sherrill, and Tammy Simone. Would all my members of the board please stand and be recognized? And part of the people is the staff. Please understand that the Midwest staff volunteers to help out the foundation, led by our fearless CEO, Dorian Dyson. But there's a whole pool of really talented staff. Jennifer Conley, Liz Dickinson, Tammy Carnes, Zoe Brown, Kylie York, Chris Campbell, Ashlyn Thomas, who is my doppelganger tonight. You'll see that when she stands up. Laura Busaka, and Jamie Kirchhoff. Could all of the staff please stand up and be recognized? Thank you, thank you, thank you. And then there are our vigorous and successful fundraising and grant acquisitions. So let's talk about payments. The foundation contributes a significant amount of new money to the section that doesn't come from national and doesn't come from the section itself. And it's to promote our mission, connecting the joy of tennis with those educational opportunities. The board is all volunteers, and in the Merry Tennis Month of May, we had our annual board fundraiser, so it's just our board contributing. Every single board member contributed, and thanks to the help of a matching donation from a very enthusiastic supporter of the foundation, the board itself raised $60,000. And the foundation is incredibly fortunate to have individuals and families that contribute in order to put programming into our communities to help us fulfill our mission. And in 2023, those funds were $140,000. And you can read about many of those in your program. And our partnership with the Laureus Foundation. The Laureus Foundation is a global foundation founded by Nelson Mandela for sport is good. And we have been working closely with the foundation. And this year we are able to bring tennis to underserved areas that are violence prone in the tune of $225,000 for the state of Indiana. So let's talk about programming. The foundation is very closely aligned with the National Junior Tennis and Learning programs, the NJTLs. And the NJTLs do a fabulous job, and one in particular, the Midwest section recognized, is called Dublin TOP. TOP stands for Tennis Outreach Program. Now here's the thing. They've been around for over 5 years. It's just kids. There's not a single adult involved in the program. It's high school kids teaching fifth and kindergarten through fifth grade tennis, and then providing mentoring and homework help as the educational component. And they are committed to bringing tennis opportunities without any kind of cost barrier to the kids in Dublin, Ohio. So I'm very impressed with that group. People are the heart of everything that we do. Payments to individuals and programs enhance the lives of our youth and all persons with disabilities. Programming connects the joy of tennis to healthy communities. So, how do we know it's working? Well, to manage our incoming grant applications, to distribute money to individual programs, to follow up with current donors and potential donors, as well as all funders, requires an efficient, accurate, and knowledgeable staff. Check. It's working because the grant application process has been streamlined. It's been made simpler. As a consequence, now we get more grant applications and we're able to increase participation. Check. It's working because our fundraising success continues to grow. Not only increasing the Laureus grant and individual grants, but now we use and track foundation and corporate grant opportunities through software support called Instrumental. Check. It's working because we now have on-court feedback. We want to know, what does it mean to enhance lives of our youth? We're using something called Hello Insight to measure the effectiveness of our on-court programming that have an educational component. Hello Insight is online, and it contains a series of questions, and it's for all ages. And in the littlest age group, they actually take a tablet or a smartphone on the court, and the teaching pro will read a kindergartner the question, and the kindergartner can choose a happy face or a not so happy face. And that's how we get feedback. So it's a dynamic, energizing tool. We're developing metrics from this information to give us feedback on SEL, it's S-E-L, social and emotional learning. It's the process of how kids understand and manage emotions, set and achieve goals, feel and show empathy for others, establish and maintain positive relationships, and make responsible decisions. We are working really hard to integrate coaches, programming, and a delivery model that makes it possible for us to put our arms around these kids for emotional safety, psychological safety, as well as physical safety. And Hello Insight is one piece of the puzzle that's going to let us track that and work constantly to improve it. So, my next question is, how do we know that the foundation is going to continue to work in the future? Well, guess what? It's you. It's everybody in this room. You all have an opportunity to propel the foundation into the future, to connect that joy of tennis with educational opportunities and enhance the lives of our youth and all persons with disability. And guess what? You can make a difference tonight. On your tables, you'll find a QR code. And one of those QR codes is going to take you directly to that online auction that Colin keeps talking about. And here's the thing. These are wonderful opportunities for you to award yourselves. We have luxury trips to Montana, Sky Country, Big Sky Country. We have luxury boxes at the Indian Wells, a presidential suite at the US Open. And here's your chance to reward yourselves for all that hard work you did last year. And you're going to be helping the foundation at the same time. But wait, there's another barcode. And that one lets you make a direct contribution tonight to the foundation. And here's my challenge. There's a lot of people in this room. If you think tennis has made a difference in your life, and if you think this is a glorious evening, and if you have a way to say thank you to the foundation, would you pick up that barcode and contribute $10? That's my challenge. Take a moment, and I know, look over here. Here's the foundation board using their phones, smartphones, to make those contributions. There they are. Yay. So please take a moment, and I just can thank you from the bottom of my heart. So many people of you lift up the foundation, and it's truly, truly appreciated. It's not for me, the phone. And thank you very much. And now I want to bring Colin back up to the podium to continue our celebration. Thank you very much.
All right, 29 minutes. 29 minutes to get the president's box or president's suite at the U.S. Open. If you guys have never been there, it's amazing. So it's worth all the money. Like $40,000, is that what we're doing, right? 40, okay. All right, I'd like to move to the Hall of Fame portion of the evening. And I'd like to invite Jonelle Smith, past president and current chair of the Hall of Fame Committee for USTA Midwest.
Well, welcome to the 39th Midwest Tennis Hall of Fame induction ceremony. We have a wonderful program planned for you tonight. And first, we're very honored to have in our presence one Hall of Fame member from the class of 2000, Barbara Wynn. Barbara, will you stand up? Earlier today, we had awards, the three most prestigious awards in the Midwest section that were presented. The Hall of Fame Family of the Year, the Family of the Year was the Venn family from Sylvania, Ohio, and they had to go home for a high school basketball game, so they're not here. But we do have the Stan Moless Award winner. That was Jason Stanislav. Jason? And we have the Mel Bergman Award winner, Ethel Parker. Ethel? When I was talking to Bobbie earlier this week, she said, how in the world did we get, and how did this happen? And I thought maybe we'd just take 1 minute and I'll go through it really quickly. But the process, because it does involve potentially all of you as well, the process is this, that there is a Hall of Fame Administrative Committee. The committee, the chair and the vice chair come from past presidents, and they are appointed by the current president, Colin Atkinson. I'm the chair. Doug Winger is the vice chair. You want to stand, Doug? So the administrative committee, Colin, Doug, and myself, and then the bylaws require us to also have the immediate past president, which is Paul Farah, and the current executive vice president, which is Jeff Stassen. Will you two stand up? This is a pretty hard-working group because what they do is they read through all of the nominations that have been submitted for the whole pool of people who've been, their names have been submitted, read through all the bios of all these people, and they determine how many people will be on the slate and which ones. And so once that decision is made, it kind of is turned over then to our staff person who is Chris Campbell. And A ballot is prepared and sent out to all of the Hall of Fame members. And the Hall of Fame committee members are all past presidents plus the current board of directors. And they vote. And the votes are returned to the office, so none of the rest of us see the votes. But any person that was on that ballot that received the threshold to become inductee, then that announcement is made. And so we are very fortunate tonight that we have two very wonderful and very highly deserving people for induction. Where you come in is that anybody can make a nomination. So in your circle, think about your circle of friends and tennis people and all of that. Do you know somebody that has done outstanding, way above and beyond? And it can be either in the player category or it can be in the contributor category. And actually, in my little welcome message in the program book, kind of itemize what those things might be. The other requirement is the person has to have lived in the Midwest section for at least 10 years. Pretty simple. So that brings us to where we are now. And I will say this, and Joy already alluded to it, please look at the program book, not right now, because we want you to look at things that we have here, but Ayana's speech is in here. The bios of all of the Hall of Fame inductees for tonight are in here, and the bios also of our award winners are in here. So it's worth taking a look. Plus, I do want to thank all of those people who put in an ad or who gave a message of congratulations to one of our award winners tonight or our inductees. So thank you very much. Now, our first inductee from Port Washington, Wisconsin, now living in Arizona, but grew up in Port Washington. And you know, you've always heard how life can change in an instant. And that's actually what happened to Kaitlyn Verfuerth. Kaitlyn was in an automobile accident and was paralyzed from the waist down and in a wheelchair. But everything that I've heard and read, this was a spunky little kid. And at 14 years of age, she found tennis. And boy, was that a good thing for her and also for the tennis community. A year and a half after she found tennis, she was already nationally ranked in wheelchair tennis. And she played on the USTA teams and went right from the junior teams into the adult para teams and was a Paralympian in tennis. She also played USA basketball, and she also was a Paralympian in canoeing. So this is somebody on the move. Today, not only was she a player, but she is a promoter. She is an instructor. She's done all kinds of things, and I was just trying to keep up when I was watching your video. So let's see what Kaitlyn's friends and family have to say about her.
I'm actually speaking for my son Brian and myself. He and I have been co-directing wheelchair tennis for over 25 years. And Brian and I were so excited and pleased to hear about her induction into the Hall of Fame. I immediately called you, Kaitlyn, and we really kind of cried over the phone as to how far she's come and how deserving she is of this award. We began working with Kaitlyn at the early age of 13. She happened to see a flyer for one of our wheelchair weekly tennis lessons and came with her mother. I noticed immediately that she had high energy, very courageous, and I could see her almost getting bored. So I went up to her immediately after. I said, you know, I see you have high energy, you're great in your chair, love to work with you personally. Things started very quickly and fast for her. A year and a half after we started tennis, she was 5th in the juniors in the country. She was actually asked to represent the country at the World Cup Games. Well, then she was interested in high school tennis to play on her high school team. So the coach and I got together. We went to the WIA, which is our governing body in Wisconsin, and said, all right, we have a wheelchair player. First one in Wisconsin, wants to play tennis. And of course, they didn't understand, and we had to make them understand that she would be allowed the 2 bounces, which is the USTA rule. They agreed, and she was actually on her varsity tennis team. And then later years, she was inducted in the High School Hall of Fame. Since she played high school tennis, she was even wanting to pursue college tennis. So she and I did go to Arizona in Tucson and kind of looked at their program. And of course, they had a lot of wheelchair tennis going on there. So she ended up going to school there. She is a trailblazer. I mean, and here in Wisconsin, she was the first wheelchair athlete that we've had. So she's really educated our state in what is possible and what should be happening in our state. We are just thrilled for you, Kaitlyn, how you have personally succeeded and are helping others.
Kaitlyn, what a wonderful honor for you, and congratulations to be inducted into the USTA's Midwest Section Hall of Fame. I met Kaitlyn Verfuerth when she was a junior tennis player. This is going back, I think, to the earliest 2000s. She was part of our USTA National High Performance Junior Team, World Team Cup member at that point, maybe aspiring Paralympian. Kaitlyn has always been one of the happiest people I know, and always wanting to help and make others feel good. She was always a pleasure to be around. I think everybody wanted to spend time with Kaitlyn because so positive, so uplifting, so happy, and such a tough athlete. And I think everybody appreciated all of those character traits of Kaitlyn. And I think to this day, everybody just loves spending time with her. And Kaitlyn really is one of the best Paralympians we've ever had, not just tennis, but just overall. She's had such an amazing athletic career. You know, we saw such a great athlete as a kid. She played some basketball, obviously tennis, and just overall athletically was exceptional. We knew that as a junior tennis player. She had the speed, she had the power, she had the work ethic, she had the competitive drive. And I think for us as coaches, you know, we felt like we have really for the first time on the women's side, an all-court style, meaning Kaitlyn can stay back and play offensively. She can defend well because of her speed. She had a knack for going forward and volleying and having good instincts at the net, which also made her an exceptional doubles player. It just showed that Kaitlyn was just an all-around performer. She could be anywhere on the court and be comfortable, and that is rare. We had a great group of women's tennis players we were kind of transitioning out of, and Kaitlyn was that next generation. And it really, I think, began in World Team Cup, which is wheelchair tennis's Davis Cup, Billie Jean King Cup equivalent. And she started on the junior team, had touched that #1 junior in the world status. I think the first that we've ever had in the US, having a junior reach the top level. And then from there, transitioned to the women's team, and then making the Paralympic team in 2004. We knew that great things were ahead for Kaitlyn. But I thought a shiny moment was in 2007 when she won the gold medal at the Pan American Games in Rio. That was the very first Pan American Games that had wheelchair tennis involved. She's done amazing things as a junior tennis player, as an adult tennis player, and now post-career, continuing to give back is what makes Kaitlyn so exceptional.
Hey, Kaitlyn, congratulations on being inducted in the USTA Midwest Hall of Fame. I've known Kaitlyn for at least a decade, but I've had the fortune of working side by side with her at Ability 360 for the last 3 years, and it's just been a tremendous honor to work alongside with her. She's really the type of person that makes people better without even trying. She's just got a spirit about her that makes people work harder towards being independent in their life. She's an incredible advocate for people with disabilities and of all abilities, really. I mean, she just lives life to the fullest, but she decided to move down the hill from Flagstaff. She called me up and said, Gus, I'd really like to work at Ability 360. I said, okay, you're hired. We'll figure something out. You know, in the realm of tennis, she, you know, just got so many people excited about wheelchair tennis and tennis in general. Our tennis program just blew up. I mean, we have twice a week, sometimes we have up to 30 athletes. And that is wonderful to have, but you have to have a leader behind that, and that's who she is. Although we have a sports and fitness center here at Ability 360, first and foremost, we're a center for independent living. We advocate for people with disabilities. We did a part of the Grand Canyon this year where we had a drive to Henderson and then we flew into Bar 10. I think we should do a kayak trip to Emerald Cove at Lake Mead. That trip was successful. The people that went, feel stronger about their independence through being in the outdoors, participating in a kayak adventure. And, she shared that with everybody and she puts in the work, she shows up, she pours into people. There's times where I was telling her the other day where, we need to get from point A to point B and it might be up a little rocky cliff or up a river. And because she's pretty petite, she can climb on my back and I can carry her places. And I told her as much, little places that I've carried you, with your chair or whatever that are super inaccessible, you put a lot of people on your back and carry them too. Not all great athletes make great coaches, but Kaitlyn is just an incredible people person. She's a wonderful coach, and she sees the good in everybody, and it's a blessing to have her on a staff here at Ability 360.
Please welcome Kaitlyn Verfuerth. Mr. President, it is my great honor to present Kaitlyn Verfuerth for induction into the Midwest Tennis Hall of Fame.
As president of the USTA Midwest section, it is my pleasure to induct Kaitlyn into our USTA Midwest Tennis Hall of Fame. Tonight she is joining other remarkable contributors to the sport of tennis. Congratulations, Kaitlyn.
Wow, I know I make an impact, but whoa, this is an extreme honor for me tonight to be receiving this award, and I'm super excited to be the first wheelchair tennis athlete to be inducted into the Midwest Tennis Hall of Fame. Not only representing the Midwest, but also the great state of Wisconsin. That's the place where all my big dreams happened. Playing high school tennis on my high school team, and I just wanted to be like everybody else. I just wanted to compete. I really wanted a Letterman's jacket with the P. That's really all I wanted. I wanted them to jingle like my brothers had. But I had no idea that this game would take me all over the world. I've gotten to represent our country, and I counted 2 weeks ago 17 World Team Cups. So if you were listening to what Jason said, 17. 3 Paralympic Games, 2 gold medals, a silver and a bronze, and pair of pairs. And then I got to play in 3 of the 4 Grand Slams. A big part of me really wants to come back and just do Wimbledon because that's the only one I haven't done yet. I talked to my mom about it in the airport. Yeah, we'll see. But the people I've met along the way, and everything from like the tournament staff, not only from the USTA, but the ITF, like all around the world, and the volunteers, and all the people that help make this like wheelchair tennis tournament tour happen. I mean, these people just love tennis, and they get jazzed to watch wheelchair tennis all around the world. But I got to experience so many different cultures, and all because of this game, tennis, and this game that you all are just as passionate about as I am. And I'm a Midwesterner at heart. And looking today, I came to your guys' opening, and I just was listening and hearing about some of your initiatives that you're talking about, Colin, and I'm just really excited to hear that wheelchair tennis and adaptive tennis is involved in that conversation because I'd like to say that in the beginning of the 90s when I first started playing, I had to advocate just to get to the table, but today, we are at the table and we have a name tag. Wheelchair tennis is alive. People finally noticed, and it's big and it's awesome. And my last double partner that I played with in Rio, she's getting paid, like she has sponsors with Adidas and travels all over the world, and it's amazing. And I'm just so happy that I got to be a part of that and help that happen. And now I get to give back to the game. It's given me so much. I've been a coach, a mentor, a tournament director, worn many hats. And what still pulls me to this game, and why I love tennis, and what it's taught me, and this is what I learned. First of all, you gotta get the basics right. You gotta learn how to play the game. You gotta reset and be ready. All these things can apply in life. You gotta get into the zone, and I know when I'm in this because it's the best version of me. You gotta play to your strengths and play to your opponent's weaknesses. And you don't ever underestimate your opponent. I learned that the hard way at the beginning. Ignore the score and play 1 point at a time. Life is short. And motivate yourself. Sometimes we gotta be our biggest cheerleader. These lessons are transferable to your career. I found in my family life, my relationships, just and beyond. The tennis has taught me how to be like a good human being. Things I want to say, and then I'm really excited for the next inductees because they're Cincinnati and they sound amazing. I've read their bios. But first, before I have to thank any athletic trainer or coach about my career, I just have to thank my mom. Thank you for taking me to every single tournament, practice, clinic, this or that. And from day one, you just always were my biggest fan and always had my back no matter what. And thank you. And there's two really important people that are here. I really wish more of my family could have been here, but it's Brian and Jackie Egelhoff. And really, I would not, like you've heard, I would not be here without them. And I have Jackie really to thank for my beautiful serve, the very technical foundations of all my game. You've like basically molded me. And then Brian for the countless hours of hitting cross-court backhands, because that was like the one shot I just struggled with in the beginning. Backhand. But countless hours. And then just instilling those very foundations into my muscle memory. It's long times. And competing on the tour, there's just some mentors I have to thank. There's a guy, he passed away, his name's Randy Snow. He was just a big part of my life. Yeah, really. Kieran Korb, she's not here, but she's a big part. As well as Hope Llewellyn, who also played. They were like kind of right before me, like Paralympians and stuff. I really looked up to them. And then there was Dan James. He was probably my first U.S. coach I ever like got in touch with, and him and I, and Zach Sikora, who's here tonight, which is also a big surprise. We traveled to Las Petitas, the big international tournament together. We just had a load of fun. I won the tournament. I don't remember. You do it. Okay, yeah, it's great. We represented. Sorry, Zach. Okay, Zach's amazing. Love Zach. He's so glad you're here. And then I met Jason Harnett, who y'all have heard from, and he's our head person at the USTA right now. And just guy helped me with my mental game and just kind of really helped me get to that top 8, top 10 in the world level. And I lived in Southern California for a while, and that's where he's originally from. And I had some really great people like Jim and Annette Buck. I don't know if anybody knows them, and Anthony Laura, and these people at the Upland Tennis Club, they took me in. So, countless other people to thank, but I know tennis will always be in my life, and it still fulfills me, and I still have this passion for the game. But knowing that I made a small impact in the Midwest, sounds like a big impact actually when I was writing this. I was thinking small. Sounds like I made a big impact in the Midwest and Southwest section. That's really what makes me the most proud, is this work that I get to do now. So thank you guys from the bottom of my heart. I am so honored and I'm like so amazed. Thank you very much.
Well, our next inductee is unusual. This has only happened once before. We had a husband-wife pair that went in as one induction, and tonight we have another. And while they are, I know for the vast majority of you here, they are well-known, and you know everything, probably more than I know, about what all they have done. But when the administrative committee was looking at all of the names that were in the pool, we said, gee, you know, these two are like salt and pepper. You know, they go together. You know, when I was coaching, I told my doubles teams, you know, this is like you're singing a duet. You know, when one sings, the other one applauds. And I decided that Bobbie and Jim are really, and our committee decided, we can't, you know, they have to go in as a pair. And I think everything, they have been involved in countless things in the greater Cincinnati area. They've been involved in the foundation, or foundation here, in the Hall of Fame here. They've been involved in their district. They have been involved with the Midwest section in countless capacities. They've been involved at the national level, and Jim even served on the board of directors of the International Tennis Hall of Fame. And all along the way, if Bobbie was the one that was in the limelight, doing the singing, if you will, Jim was right there. He was right there behind her. He was supporting, he was encouraging, he was probably a shoulder to cry on sometimes. And if she needed manpower, he was the man. And conversely, when Jim was the one that was in the limelight, Bobbie was right there. You always saw them together. So it is just so much of a privilege to be able to induct the two of you together as a couple. And let's see what your friends say about you, Bobbie and Jim.
Congratulations, Bobbie and Jim, on your induction to the Midwest USTA Hall of Fame. Jim and Bobbie both. They were involved in every aspect of the USTA, from Cincinnati tennis to Ohio Valley tennis, Midwest tennis, and at the national level. It kind of goes back 45 years. At the time I was struggling trying to play tennis on the circuit, and the Farleys were living in Point Pleasant, West Virginia, and had never played tennis. Jim just took a job in Cincinnati, and I had just taken one at Queen City Racket Club to try to start a top junior program. I watched Angela play and immediately thought she would be great in our program. When we started our junior program, Bobbie came up with an idea that was just fantastic. And it was, you know, they had never really experienced junior tennis before with their children, and so they thought it would be a good idea, and Bobbie led this to start a parent support group. The other thing that she did was, when Cincinnati was named the Tennis City of the Year by the USTA, she ran that, was able to get Tony Trabert and Billy Talbert to come to Cincinnati and give speeches on the town square, and it was a wonderful event, and Bobbie did all of that. Now, the two things that I look at Jim about, one, of course, was developing the Cincinnati Tennis Hall of Fame. Now, the other thing on a personal note that Jim did that really made a difference for us was he brought John Cook to Cincinnati to join our program. Jim Farley, being the great businessman that he was, coordinated that effort to bring him in. At one point when John was there, we had 50 kids that were nationally ranked in our program in that 1 year, and it was all of Jim's doing. In my experience, most parents that get involved in tennis because of their children, which Bobbie and Jim did, when the kids get out of the juniors, the parents kind of disappear, are no longer involved in tennis. That didn't happen with Bob and Jim. That was one thing I really admired about the two of them, was that their commitment to tennis went even beyond and their interest with their children's tennis. The two of them together created an atmosphere in Cincinnati that just made people want to be part of what they were doing. As Jim always used to like to say, what direction are we trending? And with Jim, it was always up. And I'm absolutely thrilled to have been part of this and to wish them congratulations for being in the Hall of Fame. And I love them both and wish them the best.
Congratulations to Bobbie and Jim Farley on their induction to the USTA Midwest Tennis Hall of Fame. Bobbie and Jim are truly tennis royalty in my hometown of Cincinnati. I first met Jim and Bobbie Farley at the Greater Cincinnati Tennis Association. They were on the board of directors, and I was coming in as a member of the junior tennis committee. They were true examples of how to grow tennis amongst the junior players in Cincinnati. And many of the junior events that happened in our city were sponsored through their racket club. As you know, Bobbie and I are both attorneys, and so we've sort of followed the same volunteer path as we have gone through our volunteer activities. And the difference is Bobbie's always been 2-3 leaps ahead of me, and it's always just been wonderful to be able to call her and ask a question. And she's just been wonderful about sharing her knowledge and her expertise and her advice. And who can forget Jim Farley's multiple opportunities to introduce our Greater Cincinnati Tennis Hall of Fame inductees at the Western and Southern. At the time, it was known as the ATPs locally, on center court here in Cincinnati. Both Bobbie and Jim have been immersed in the Cincinnati tennis world and across the Midwest in so many ways. 1 as players, 2 as parents of players, 3 as club owners, and 4 as volunteers. So they sort of hit every possible way to impact the growth of tennis. As an outgrowth of that, tennis has prospered here in the Midwest. So we have a lot to be thankful for in the support and activities and the talents that the 2 of them have brought to our section.
Mr. President, it is my great honor to present for induction into the Midwest Tennis Hall of Fame, Bobbie and Jim Farley.
As president of the USTA Midwest section, it is my pleasure to induct Jim and Bobbie Farley into our USTA Midwest Tennis Hall of Fame. Tonight, they are joining other remarkable contributors to the sport of tennis. Congratulations, Jim and Bobbie.
Before Bobbie speaks, I forgot to mention, they are the 100th inductee into our Hall of Fame.
Wow. What an evening. There's a lot of tennis energy in this room, and it's great. It's great to be back with a lot of the Midwest people we've missed seeing. It's great to be with all of you who are here to help us enjoy the evening. I'm a little overwhelmed to see all these folks who are here. I'm overwhelmed by this honor. We are so honored and grateful. We have, Jim and I, come over a little closer. Jim and I have been on a long tennis journey. First of all, thank you, Colin, for inducting us into the USTA Midwest Tennis Hall of Fame. It was a surprise to us when we heard from Jonelle back in July that this was going to happen. It seemed like the day would never come, and now it's here. So we're very grateful. Joy and Bill, thank you for your remarks. You reminded me of some things I'd forgotten about our tennis journey, so thank you very much for the time and effort that you put into that. Jonelle's the chair of the Hall of Fame committee. She has been a good friend for a long time. We appreciate all you do, and we thank the selection committee for selecting Jim and me for this event. We congratulate Kaitlyn. Where is she now? You're a tough act to follow. You are an amazing athlete, an amazing person, and you were somewhat of a comedian, too. You cover everything. We're really happy this event is in Cincinnati because most of the time it's in Indianapolis. And So when Jonelle told me that it was going to be in Cincinnati, I was really happy because I thought we'll have more people, more friends, will be able to visit and be with us in Cincinnati than if they had to trek over to Indianapolis. Thank you all for coming, all our friends and our family who are here. Thank you. Jim and I are probably among the least likely persons to have played tennis and to have been tennis volunteers for now almost 50 years. We both grew up in southern West Virginia in a rural area made up primarily of small farming communities and mining communities. There was one tennis court in the whole area where we lived. It never would have crossed our minds to think about playing tennis. I hardly even knew what it was back in the 50s and the early 60s. Actually, this one tennis court we never played on, but later, when we went back to West Virginia visiting family, Jim and Angela actually played on that tennis court. It was in a small mining community, and the mine was owned by Armco Steel, and that was kind of an elite. If there was ever an elite mining community, Armco Steel had one because they had a tennis court. I said Jim and Angela actually played on that court, so that was great. Fast forward to the early 1970s. We were living in Point Pleasant, West Virginia. It was the tennis boom. I call us products of the tennis boom of the 70s, because after open tennis in 1968, a lot of people started playing tennis, all the tennis courts. The Midwest grew as a result of all the indoor facilities that were built during that time. We were living in a little town in Point Pleasant, West Virginia, and friends were playing, and then we had Angela and Andrea. Angela started playing. Andrea's about 7 years younger, but she started playing. She always wanted to do what her big sister was doing, so she wanted to play tennis as well. Jim and I gifted each other with tennis rackets. We wanted to have the latest tennis racket. If we were going to have a tennis racket, we wanted to have the very latest one. It was a Jimmy Connors T3000. The 2000 was not the one you wanted. We wanted the latest one. Everybody was talking about it. Does anybody still have a T3000 tennis racket? There's one. So Angela and Andrew were playing by that time as well. Tennis wasn't easy in Point Pleasant. There were 4 tennis courts. There was one at one location, one at another location, and 2 that were just outside of the city limits. We spent a lot of time driving from one location to the other location, more time waiting in line just to get to play a set or 2. It was incredible. I mean, to have never thought about playing tennis, that seemed to be all we wanted to do. So it was not easy, but we managed. And one of the things we did is first as a volunteer before we left Point Pleasant to come to Cincinnati, we helped them build some more tennis courts, and we even had some tournaments going on along with the other communities in West Virginia. People would travel around and play in the tournaments. So we got to Cincinnati about 1980. It was a good move for Jim in his work. It was also great for our girls. By that time, they were somewhat seasoned tennis players and had played at quite a few tournaments before we came to Cincinnati. While we were still in Point Pleasant, we read in the Huntington paper that there was going to be a junior tournament in Huntington. Angela had probably played tennis for about a year. Jim signed her up for the tournament, so Angela and a few of the other children from the community drove to Huntington. It's 40 miles between Point Pleasant and Cincinnati. So we drove there, put Angela in the tournament. We didn't realize until that tournament was over that it was a qualifier. We weren't quite sure what it was a qualifier for. We never heard of that term either. By the way, Jim and I were in our 30s when we first picked up a tennis racket. So we weren't skilled tennis players, but we could still play the game. So we took Angela down for the tournament, and I think there were 3 people in her 12 age group. So having only 3 people in the tournament, the first match she lost, the second match she won, and that qualified her to play next week, which we learned was the Ohio Valley Tennis Association qualifier. It happened to be in Huntington that year. It's hardly ever in Huntington. Well, it was only 40 miles away, so we took Angela to that tournament. There were a few more in the tournament that week, but Angela was fortunate to qualify again. And what she qualified for was called the Western Close. Well, we had no idea what that meant. We had no idea what a lot of this meant, but, we were adventurous, and so we wanted to participate in tennis. That had become our lives somewhat. So we decided, Jim and I talked about it, and we thought, gosh, if Angela's going to be playing in all these tennis tournaments around the area, we should probably think about getting a camper so that we could take the camper. It'd be less expensive than hotels. And so we thought, well, before we invest in that camper, it'd probably be a good idea to try it out. So we had a friend who had a small camper, not a very big one, but a small one. So we borrowed his camper, and we set off for Lansing, Michigan. That was 360 miles from Point Pleasant. So we went off to Lansing with Angela and Andrea to a KOA, and, shared showers and all of that. And not only did we have our daughters, but we had our 2 Maltese dogs and 9 of their puppies. 2 female Maltese each had 5 puppies. Can you believe that? So here we are in this KOA, and in the Midwest there can be thunderstorms, heat, and humidity. So there we were in that camper. We didn't know anybody. I did meet Kay Schubert. I don't know how I ever had an opportunity to meet Kay Schubert at that Western Close. At that time, I think she was the only employee of Western, so we have a lot more employees now. So anyway, we're at the KOA. Angela was playing tennis. It almost ended our tennis journey. And get this, Angela didn't win a game.
It's the number 1-5 girl.
Oh, Jim said she had to play the number 1 seed. Well, she did play named Lisa Bonder. Some of you who have been in tennis for a long time, she did play Lisa Bonder in the tournament, but believe it or not, 2 years later, she and Lisa Bonder were doubles partners in a national tournament. So from not winning a game, Bill, you gave her a lot of help. She was on the fast track. Okay.
You ought to tell veterans.
We moved here to Cincinnati. When we moved to Cincinnati, one of the first things we did was join the Greater Cincinnati Tennis Association. And I learned that we were one of the first members of the Greater Cincinnati Tennis Association. It had just been formed as a legal association. Tennis had been very strong in Cincinnati forever and ever and ever, but it was, we were just happy to be part of the tennis organization. One of the persons I'm most indebted to as far as my volunteerism is my mother. My mother was a great volunteer. My 2 brothers and I participated in a lot of youth activities band, Girl Scouts, Babe Ruth, Little League. My mom was always a volunteer, so I learned that you're part of an association, you're going to help the association. She also traveled a lot with Angela and Andrea, because Jim and I were working. I think people who running tournaments would see my mother show up with one or the other of the girls. Many people have mentored Jim and me along our tennis journey. We didn't know a lot when we started, as you can tell. One of the first was Jack Guggenheim. And when in the 1980s, Jack was president of the Greater Cincinnati Tennis Association, and I was appointed the area representative for the OVTA, and part of my responsibilities was to go to the GCTA meetings. So I met Jack. Jack introduced me to Paul Flory, and I became a tournament volunteer. I became a committee chair at the tournament, probably the ATP back then. And so they helped me with my volunteer activities, or learn how to be a better volunteer. And that also led to my being a board member for the Tennis for Charity. And a lot of my colleagues from Tennis for Charity are here. Elaine Bruning was another mentor of mine. I served, 31 years on the Tennis for Charity board. But not only was Elaine a member of that board, but everybody who knows anything at all about the background of the tournament knows Elaine was kind of the nuts and bolts. Elaine knew everything about everybody's role. She's amazing. Thank you, Elaine. Thank you for all of you being here. Oh, and I saw Tom Price's photo up here. Tom Price was another mentor. He was a referee at the Cincinnati Tennis Club for the father and son tournament when Jim was running that tournament. Jim initiated the Sportsmanship Award for that tournament, and the first year, Bill Talbert came to Cincinnati and presented the award. The next year, Tony Trabert came to Cincinnati and presented that award. Tom was he had great knowledge. Tom liked to talk about the history, and Tom was also my sidekick for a lot of meetings. He and I travel, especially to the Ohio Valley meetings up in Columbus. They were usually held in Columbus, and he and I would travel to those, and we talked about tennis all the way up, more tennis on the way back. So he was a great mentor. Actually, some of those people, Paul Flory, Elaine, Tom, you saw their pictures up here. We learned from some of the best tennis people in Cincinnati, so that was great. Now we're in the business of tennis. We never thought that we'd be in the tennis business, but this is the 20th anniversary of our years at Western Athletic Club in Cincinnati. Angela is our manager there, and she's doing a great job with that. This Hall of Fame is really as much about our girls as it is for us, because it's been the four of us all the way through Point Pleasant, Ohio Valley, Midwest, National, Jim being on the International Tennis Hall of Fame. It's been a great journey. At Western, we just want to try to make tennis, and now pickleball, as much fun for our members as they have been for us. And Angela's still playing competitive tennis. We have a grandson in Atlanta who's playing high school tennis. So we feel like this is kind of the pinnacle for us, but not the end of our journey. We're going to enjoy playing tennis and watching tennis, and particularly, hopefully, volunteering for tennis. So, on behalf of Jim,
I believe you should say something about the two girls, how much weather did, especially one of them.
well, I did. Well,
If you did, you didn't do it well.
okay, well, Jim and I, as I said, we were 30s or early 30s. Our girls were able to have tennis instruction and play tennis. And while Jim and I were volunteering, they became high-level junior players and played collegiate tennis. One of them played in the Midwest at Indiana, so that was good. But is that what you wanted me to say? Thank you.
I'd like to could say that one of them won all of the things that came to him for all four.
Oh, I know, and I forgot. I did. Okay, let me finish. Now I know what you're saying. I had
The only one ever. Yes.
Well, I'll tell you what he's thinking about. Like you said, salt and pepper. Andrea is the only person to win all 4 high school championships. Only person in Ohio to win. So we're here with our girls and 3 of our grandchildren and so many friends and so many Midwest friends and more people that we can meet. So thank you all very much on behalf of Jim and me. Thank you.
Our evening is nearly over. Just a few more housekeeping things. First of all, I want to say thanks to all the staff who helped put on this production, everything from the flowers and everything else you see on the table and the menus and all the production of everything. Especially want to recognize Chris Campbell, who works with us. I want to point out that I know I saw several of you taking videos and all that stuff, but we have had a videographer here, and this will be on YouTube at some point. So maybe we can make an announcement or something on in our publications, but keep looking for it, you'll find it. And finally, just want to say thank you to all of you for being here, and I would like to have one more round of applause for Kaitlyn, Verfuerth, for Bobbie and Jim. And now, turning it back over to Colin.
All right. I'd like to give a round of applause for Janelle for emceeing tonight. Tito's? Is that what we're okay. You want to? I'll go ahead and do this right now. All right, so we're drawing for a name to win the Tito's beach chair and basket. Is that right? Oh, name or number? Name. Oh, I was gonna say okay because it says Colin Atkinson. That's weird. Okay. You told me there was gonna be a name on there, and that my joke's not as fun. All right. Number is if you got a ticket. Number is 504-975. How many people have that? 9751. Sorry, let me do this again. 504-9751. Yeah! There you go, Pam. All right, congratulations. That's how we do it in Wisconsin, huh? That's right. All right, well, congratulations again to our inductees. Thank you. I'm going to give a couple of thank you. First of all, Cody, you're back there. Audiovisual help, thank you for a great day today. Unsung heroes. I'd also like to thank, similar to what Janelle was just saying, but this whole, not just tonight, but this whole meeting is put on by Midwest staff, and the amount of time and effort it takes to go from start to finish, this doesn't happen obviously over a couple weeks. I just want to give a huge round of applause to all of them who have been involved in this. All right, I think there's still an open bar, right? I think so, yeah. Chris just gave me the 2 thumbs up, not just 1, but 2. That's how we do it. And I'm going to say one last thing. So thank you again, and safe travels if you're on your way home tonight, or safe travels to the hotel bar. Thanks again.